Hello everyone, my name is Simon and I am here today with a counter-side video. I'll be taking a look at Lee JiSoo, going through her roles, skills, and where she shines best. I've included timestamps in the description below, so if there's any specific information you're looking for, you can just skip right to it. Now, since this channel is new, do leave a comment if you have any feedback or what you'd like to see next. Like and subscribe and you'll see more of me pretty soon. Without further ado, let's get to it. So who exactly is Lee JiSoo? Now, Lee JiSoo is an Awakened support class unit in the game Counter-Strike. She's a melee character, so upon deployment will run to the front lines and do her work. To deploy her on the field, you'll need 5 deployment resources, or 4 if you give the leader's role. So who exactly is Lee JiSoo? Lee JiSoo is an Awakened support class unit in the game of Counter-Strike. She's a melee character, so upon deployment will run to the front lines and do her work. Now to deploy her on the field, you'll need 5 deployment resources, or 4 if you give her the leader's role. So let's have a look at her skills. Now, I won't be touching on the basic skill since basic skill is like her normal attack, so let's just jump straight into her passive skill. Her passive skill is Spell Healing Prevention. As you can see, from level 1 to 4, basically you'll increase her base HP, but at level 5, you increase her attack speed debuff amount from 15% to 25%. So basically what happens is when you deploy her into the field, her passive skill activates instantly and it will stay there for the rest of the duration that she's on the field. Meaning to say, she will permanently decrease 75% healing received by every single unit on the enemy team, and at the same time, rangers, strikers, and snipers have their attack speed decreased by 15 to 25% if you level up to level 5. Now, moving on to the special skill. Her special skill is basically called Seal Annihilation. What she does is she releases a flurry of sword slashes, decreases enemy attack by 20% for 10 seconds, and from level 1 to level 4, you can see it's a damage increase of total of 25%, and at level 5, you reduce the cooldown by additional 4 seconds, making it 16 seconds in the end. As for her ultimate skill, Forbidden Knight Curse, what happens is she just dashes forward in the direction that she's facing, removes all non-permanent buffs, and prevents any new buffs for 15 seconds, at the same time doing some damage. If you level it up to level 5, what happens is that the buff sticks for 45 seconds instead of 15. That's a really big jump. And the buff effects changes to permanent, meaning to say, if she lands a debuff and the enemy dies, she gains an increase in defense by 10%, making her even more tankier, up to 50%. And at level 5, this becomes permanent, meaning to say, if she gets 5 stacks, she dies, and you redeploy her again, she'll have it all full, ready to go. Now, JiSoo is a support class who is given mostly defensive stats compared to the other melee classes like the strikers, right? She has a decent amount of HP. With mine currently not an HP set, she has 64,000. Right, around 64k HP, lower than average attack, and pretty much everything else is average. Right, her crit's pretty low, her hit is a little on the low side, but her evasion is quite normal for a melee attacker. So, in what situation or roles does she play in different places, right? We will first touch on PvE. As for PvE, JiSoo is by default a potential off-tank due to her stats. Since it's more forgiving in PvE content such as normal runs and raid, you can even use her as your main front lines if your DPS deployed to support her does enough damage. She also is a very easily sustainable character if you have a single healer on the team. So the next thing we want to talk about is basically how she does in raids. Now, JiSoo at this point of this video's release is the only counter with a direct attack down debuff to the enemy, making her one way of keeping your team alive during boss's waves of onslaught when he slams his arms on the ground and whatnot. She may be able to carry as a DP. She may not be able to carry as a DPS, but she is definitely a solid support and a cool one to boot. So let's talk about PvP. Now in Counter-Strike, the PvP meta shifts almost every week due to its intuitive ban system. I'll talk video if let's say I get more requests. So in a general sense, Jisoo is almost never a good idea to be deployed as your first drop, as her cost is 5 and does not really serve that great of a tank. However, she is a great unit to drop if the enemy team heavily relies on heals. Such teams such as the Titan-centric teams, where there's an Ironside, there's an Abraham, right? Or other teams that has a lot of healers in them, such as those with Claudia, Evelyn, and Chinatsu, right? She's also very useful on the field to have if let's say you're up against a very heavy melee team, such as people with a lot of Ryan, Irie, Chifuyus, and all the other strikers. Because she will, if Jisoo is there, her normal special skill will actually debuff the enemy's attack and removing any other permanent buffs on them at the same time. Meaning, people like Claudia, Ares' shield, Harry's shield as well, they will all be removed. So the final verdict for Jisoo, basically she shines best as an off-tank debuffer or debuffer when your front line and back lines are actually holding their ground. She doesn't really do enough damage to turn the tides of a battle, but her being there will greatly reduce the durability of the enemy team, which relies on healing to sustain. Well, all in all, she's a 5-cost hero that, if used in the right situation at the right time, will definitely not disappoint you. Just don't expect her to be dishing out damage like Zeldin or clean things up like Elizabeth does. So that's all about our Jisoo's review. I hope this provides a better understanding on Jisoo's role in various situations and how you should be using her. Now, just because she's a support unit doesn't mean that she can't give you the satisfaction of just stomping over your enemies. Do things differently and so will the satisfaction of the outcome. So once again, let me know if you'd like to see